With over 182 million users and 2.2 million minutes of endless entertainment, Netflix has taken over the world, especially in a time like now, since people are on Netflix more than ever trying to keep themselves entertained. Netflix has a variety of genres to satisfy every need. However, Netflix has some very dark and disturbing shows that some claim are too inappropriate for the streaming service. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. I'm your host, Lindsay Ivan, and today I'm bringing you the top 10 scary Netflix shows that should be banned. But before I begin, let me know in the comments below what your favorite Netflix show is, or what's one that you're currently binge watching. Now, I feel like I need to add this little disclaimer. If I perhaps mention a show that you love, please don't take offense. I made this list based on other people's opinions and reviews on the show. It's not my own personal opinion, because believe me, some of the shows that I like are on this list, and I personally don't want them to get banned. With that being said, let's dive on into the video. Starting off this countdown, we have Scream Queens. Scream Queens is a thriller comedy about a serial killer that threatens the lives of the characters in the show. This show has an iconic cast featuring Emma Roberts, Lea Michele, Abigail Breslin, Jamie Lee Curtis, Nick Jonas, and Taylor Lautner, just to name a few. Now, the reason this is on the list is because people were horrified by the amounts of violence and gore in the show. With such a star-studded cast, parents were worried that their young children would be enticed to watch their favorite actors, but then be scarred by the content they see in the show. For example, Ariana Grande was in a handful of episodes before being killed off. She has a huge following of young kids who would have been exposed to the violence in this show. Some things that happen in this show are girls getting their head decapitated by a lawnmower, people getting sawed in half by chainsaws, and people getting stabbed multiple times. Lastly, there's one disturbing scene where a woman gets her face burnt off by a deep fryer and then she just claws her skin right off her face. I mean, I personally like this show, even though it's kind of cheesy at times, but I think it's hilarious. In our 9th spot, we have Black Summer. This show follows a group of strangers trying to survive the zombie apocalypse. In the reviews, numerous people claim that it's like a rip-off version of The Walking Dead. In fact, a lot of people gave it a D or C- rating. Why? Well, some say the show was too upsetting for them, since it features the subplot of a mother frantically looking for her daughter. Others say that it scared them because it's too realistic, as if it could actually happen. Now, it is labeled as gritty and forceful on Netflix, so I don't know what they expected from the show that has that as their label. But from the heart-pounding scenes to the disturbing zombies, people aren't a fan of the show. I say then just stick to cartoons. Making our way down the list to number 8, we have Chambers. Now, I haven't seen this show personally, but just from watching the trailer and reading the synopsis, I am so intrigued and I definitely want to watch the show. Chambers is about a girl who receives an emergency heart transplant from a rich white girl. This girl just so happened to die in an accident the same night. But with her heart, she has the ability to remember things that the girl did and see things that she saw. It sounds like a really good storyline. But again, it's apparently too dark and twisted and scary for some viewers. In our 7th spot, we have Haunted. Now, what separates this show from all the other ones on the list is that it is in fact real. This show is composed of people sharing their real-life paranormal encounters. Then it cuts between their confessionals and scary reenactments of the events that happened. Some stories shared include one from Jacob, who was groomed by his serial killer grandfather. Or the episode titled Slaughterhouse, which is about a family whose home was haunted by the ghosts of people their father had killed. Now, people want this show to be banned because basically they're too scared by the show. Since the show is about true life events, it makes it too creepy for the viewers. Coming in at number 6, we have Van Helsing. This is an American-Canadian dark fantasy horror show about a world dominated by vampires, and not the friendly ones from Twilight. These ones are bloodthirsty and extremely violent. In multiple scenes, you see characters getting their necks sliced open by the vampires who then maul them to death. Now, why do people want this show banned? Well, for one reason. The unnecessary gore. In one scene, we have a character that wears people's cut off fingers around his neck as a necklace. In the same episode, the character Felix gets his tongue cut right off. And of course, you have Vanessa Van Helsing, who at one point gets her back flesh cut off in a big chunk. People say that the gore doesn't add to the storyline. In fact, it disturbs them so much that they can't stomach the show. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Scream. Basically, this show is about a serial killer on the loose in a small town that wears the infamous Scream mask. It's basically like the movie Scream, but in a TV show. People say that this show, again, is subjecting the teen target audience to violence at such a young age. So, you have the scene where a kid gets a stick right through his eye, pinning him to the ground. And then we see that characters get sliced in two by a chainsaw. But, worst of all, you have the scene where the sheriff is tied to a tree, and when they go to untie him, his intestines start to fall out, and then one of the characters is crying while holding his bloody intestines, like trying to put it back in him. Let's just say people were thoroughly disgusted and thought the show was way too much, but I still managed to sit through 2 seasons of it. In our 4th spot, we have Hannibal, another really great show that I don't ever want banned. Even though for some reason, Netflix took it off of Netflix Canada, I don't know. Hannibal follows the lives of Will, an FBI criminal profiler that can empathize with serial killers, and the cannibal, Dr. Hannibal Lecter. Much like the previous shows that I mentioned, people want this one banned because it's too violent and gory. In the show, we have seen multiple dark episodes, like the one where the judge is found dead in the middle of the courtroom and his head was just peeled open and his skin was pulled over his eyes. Then we have the nurse shish kebab. Basically, an escaped mental patient brutally beats his nurse and then just impales them with a bunch of metal rods. Then we have the time when people were turned into human cellos and when there was a totem pole made out of naked corpses. So yeah, I can see why people want this show banned, but sorry, I won't let that happen. In our 3rd spot, we have Ash vs. Evil Dead. Ash is back and fighting against a deadite plague. Now, this show is meant to be like a horror comedy, so most of the scenes are quite outrageous and gory. But people aren't happy with that. They say that it's more disgusting than it is funny. Some of the moments that they mentioned were when Ash bisects a skinless corpse, or when a girl's leg gets caught in a bear trap and then Ash tries to help with his chainsaw and it just gets tangled and But the most disturbing Ash fight scene is said to be the one where Ash is fighting snake-like intestines. And the intestines end up wrapping around him and, well, it goes up him. Moving on to number 2, we have Slasher. Okay, where do I begin with this one? It's a Canadian anthology series about rampaging serial killers. I mean, I didn't know us Canadians had it in us to create such a gory and dark show. And that's the reason why people want it banned. Apparently, the show is so gory and violent that they don't think it should be on Netflix. One person even commented saying that shows about serial killers are glorifying violence and are going to influence the youth to become killers. So let's take a look at some of these gory scenes. In one episode, a character is trying to escape the killer and a garden auger ends up piercing him in the stomach. For those of you who don't know, this is like a tool with spiral blades, and then the killer comes and turns it on, and well, it's in his stomach, so it starts to spin, and you can imagine what it did. Then in another scene, a man gets stabbed to death by a machete, and then a woman tries to escape, slips in his blood, and then gets a machete to the throat. Not to mention that the killer wears a very creepy medieval style type executioner mask and outfit. And honestly, you do need a strong stomach to watch this show. And in our number 1 spot, we have The Haunting of Hill House. Okay, I'm gonna start off by saying I love this show. I personally don't think it should be banned, and I'm super excited for the next season. The acting is great, especially by the little kids, they're so good. And the storyline is amazing, and there's good mystery, and it's just, I love it. But with that being said, there were some people that were very upset by the show and wanted it banned. Clearly, they don't have any taste. But anyways, they wanted the show banned because it was apparently too scary for them. I don't know what they expected. It's a scary show. The episode scared them so much that it made them feel ill. I mean, yes, this show isn't for the faint of heart, but apparently there's people like throwing up because of it. It has some pretty creepy characters, I agree, like the bent neck lady or the man with a cane, otherwise known as the floating man. This show also is filled with unexpected pop-ups, and if you look carefully, you will see a bunch of hidden ghosts lurking in the background just watching the characters. Another reason why people thought the show should be banned is because it deals with themes of suicide, drug addiction, and abuse. Nonetheless, I'm excited for season 2. Who's with me? And that's all for today's video. Let's move on to our comment shoutout portion. I'll be shouting out comments from my video, Top 10 Scary Bob the Builder Theories. Turtleboy156 commented, I loved Bob the Builder when I was little. I also had a toy of him and it would just stare at me. Oh, well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ruin Bob the Builder for you. But I'd also like to say that I like your profile picture. It's the meme of Mike from Monsters, Inc. Wazowski. Dylan McDowell commented, the scariest thing about Bob the Builder is the rebooted version. Thank you! Like, it's super weird. They made him young and just, I don't like the look of this new guy, okay? There's something up with him. He's up to something. I'm telling you that. Amelia Farina commented, I always thought Bob the Builder and Manny, I don't know if that's even his name, handyman guy, were enemies, lol. Yes, good old Handy Manny. You know, they probably were rivals. Probably. And that's all the comments I've shouted out for today's video. Make sure to comment something down below for a chance to be featured in my next comment shout out. And as always, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to Most Amazing Top 10 for more amazing videos. I've been your host, Lindsay Ivan, and I'll see you when I see you.